Basketball is in our DNA. Just look at the way we play. The style is local, but the impact is global. Some of them have developed their basketball skills from the other side of the planet. Call them expats, outsiders, strangers even. But here in the Philippines, they are known by one generic term. They are Fil-Foreigners. Let's explore the Filipino foreigner phenomenon here on Basketball Almanac.
There's a dead ball situation, now they can call for a 30-second injury timeout.
For decades, the PBA has been home to top-notch players regardless of color and race. And because of them, the game got even more exciting. We saw players going on scoring rampages. And there was one name that stood out, and he had a mixed heritage. His name, Ricardo Brown.
Gets the first, averaging 35 points.
Basketball, that powerful unifier of race and culture.
Great twisting in the air.
It has welcomed with open arms the arrival of foreign reinforcements called imports. Soon enough, it opened its doors to a new breed of player, the Filipino foreigner.
We've got 2 points from Ricardo Brown.
Newsom with almost a steal, completed, and Newsom.
Half Filipino and typically half American. That's the racial mix that has since whetted the Filipinos' appetite for high-octane basketball.
Because basically most of them came from the States. So, of course, the people that they play against with are mostly foreigners. So when they come to the Philippines, mas advanced yung knowledge nila at saka yung basketball IQ nila. Compare. But I'm not saying the locals are not. But then, syempre kasi iba yung experience nila doon eh. Kumbaga, bakbakan yun.
The Filipino foreigner phenomenon in the PBA started in 1980 when then Ambassador Eduardo Danding Coangco introduced the National Team Training Program, which aimed to recruit Americans and half Pinoys to play for flag and country. And in that same year, a Filipino-American returned to his Pinoy roots and later took the PBA by storm. His name is Ricardo Brown.
He is really a fantastic player, great player, very good shooter from the outside. But he also thinks of his teammates a lot. Magaling magbasa ng laro yan. He would like be a Tenorio that's about almost a 6-footer, but maybe close to 200 pounds when very, very accurate shooting.
Before coming to the PBA, the quick brown fox played college basketball in the United States. His notable performance caught the eyes of NBA scouts and was later drafted by the Houston Rockets as a 59th overall pick in the third round of the 1979 NBA draft. Though not signed to any team, Brown continued playing in the States before being discovered by Ambassador Coangco. Brown returned to the Philippines and suited up for the De La Salle Green Archers before jumping to the PBA.
The quick brown fox, Ricardo Brown.
The quick brown fox would later snare the 1983 Rookie of the Year award.
The most valuable player, Ricardo Brown.
And in 1995, the MVP trophy.
Press and co-players.
Ricardo Brown.
Brown was simply awe-inspiring. Averaging 30 points a game while effortlessly feeding teammates the ball has made Brown one of the most cerebral and craftiest guards during his prime. Brown, and soon with the addition of other Filipino foreigners, helped the PBA recover from periods of slump. And in 2009, Brown was named to the PBA's 25 greatest players.
agreement staff pick is Christian Fil-Foreigner.
Tapping Filipino foreigners has since become a familiar practice in the PBA. Just like this year's PBA draft, the San Miguel Beermen secured the services of top rookie prospect Christian Standhardinger, though not without debate after a controversial trade between SMB and the Kia franchise. Standhardinger, of Filipino-German descent, was already making waves abroad before playing for Gilas Pilipinas and heading to the PBA.
I just trying to get to the basket and do the dirty work, you know, rebounding, offensive rebounding, defensive rebounding, setting hard screens. That's like, I see myself doing that, and that's kind of my play. And out of that, points will develop, assists will develop, rebound will develop, and that will help the team to win.
Ross locates Standhardinger, who ties us.
Known for his hard-nosed type of play, Standhardinger has shown flashes of brilliance in the Commissioner's Cup while backstopping four-time MVP Junmar Fajardo.
Thought through! Lucky bounce for Junmar Fajardo!
But the Phil German standout knows that it will take some time for him to adjust to the highly physical style of play of the PBA.
I mean, I'm still a scorer type, but we have so many great scorers here in the team. I'm trying to facilitate, trying to set good screens so Marshall is open, so the shooters are open and they can score, play the high-low with Juma. That's what I think I have to put emphasis on, and that's where I have to put my focus on.
Always been more physical. As far as Asia is concerned, we've been the most physical league. Now, his argument is, akala niya yung ganito, tatawagan ng foul. Sa atin, hindi tinatawagan, except if it has direct meaning to what you're doing in your offensive play. But it's also an adjustment on his part.
Cleveland Cavaliers guard Jordan Clarkson is the only player with Filipino roots who's now seeing action in the NBA. But before him, there was Raymond Townsend, the first Filipino-American to play in the NBA. The 6'3" Townsend was drafted 22nd overall by the Golden State Warriors in the 1978 NBA draft and capped his career with the Indiana Pacers in 1982. Well, the PBA's Filipino foreign players certainly made a lot of good impression until all that changed with the nagging question of citizenship. Some players had to be asked, did they really have Filipino blood, or were they just mere pretenders? And how were they able to manage the action when things shifted to the court of public opinion?
Tobin is doing the right thing here. Whoa, he's pushing.
The PBA has its own share of issues and controversies in over 4 decades of existence. But none has rocked the league more than what might have been the biggest fiasco in Philippine basketball history, the Fil-Sham controversy of the early 2000s. Having Filipino foreign players in the team wasn't a new concept in the league at that time. However, the influx of new faces began prior to the 1999 season, after new innovations were introduced to beef up the PBA against a new rival, the Metropolitan Basketball Association, or the NBA. The NBA allowed foreigners to play for their teams, drawing attention from the erstwhile strict PBA rules on overseas recruits. Longtime sports agent Cheryl Reyes described the NBA's emergence as a yin and yang of sorts for the PBA.
It became controversial, and it actually opened a lot of doors for for competition also. Kasi syempre with the Fil-Ams being there, the local, yung talagang no blood at all, they really tried their best to actually level up to those guys. So good and bad publicity helped them, and also the core of the PBA itself. Kasi nagkaroon ng competition to compete with the Fil-Ams, di ba?
In order to compete with the NBA, the PBA, headed by then Commissioner Emilio Jun Bernardino, allowed teams to directly hire new players, paving the way for the recruitment of so-called Fil-Foreigners, like Earl Sonny Alvarado, Rob Parker, and Alvarado Segovia. These 3 showed immense talent that can match any import's game. Alvarado was an all-around offensive and defensive machine. Segovia was a dead shot from long range, while Parker souped up his stats with triple-doubles every game. Such uncanny display of talent certainly provided a much-needed boost and fanfare for the league. However, it was believed that jealousy started rearing its ugly head. These players started drawing the ire of local talents. The PBA Players Association contended that some of the Fil-Foreigners fabricated papers to enter the league.
There were local players that actually did not like the arrivals of the Fil-Ams. There were certain players that they were referring to na fake yung papers or parang wala talagang dugong Pilipino. So that basically put some of the guys in question with the Senate, and then some of them were sent home like sila Devon Harp.
Alaska's Jojo Lastimosa then claimed that 10 out of the 25 Filipino Americans at that time were fake, the Phil part of their citizenship being questionable. This led to a Senate inquiry headed by then Senator Robert Jaworski, himself a Filipino foreigner and former PBA player. Some of the names who went under scrutiny were Andy and Danny Siegel, James Walkfist, Asi Taulava, Alex Cresano, Eric Menk, and Ale Peak.
Came in 1998. I was here in 1996. In 1998, there was maybe a handful of Fil-Ams in the league at the time, PBA. There was no problems. Then the second year, my second year in 1999, then you have all these, a huge influx of Fil-Ams mixed in with some Fil-Shams, and that's when the questions really started to evolve. We were questioned inside the Senate.
For the Man Mountain Peak, the experience of being grilled about his citizenship was both emotionally and financially taxing. The issue also affected his personal relationship with his team.
I didn't want to show up to the Senate hearing anymore. I was, to be honest with you, I was really upset about it. And you have to understand too, it takes a lot of work and effort and money for your family back in the States to go down to the Philippine consulate to get all these documents. Coach Tim Cohn was my coach at the time. Alaska, he was pissed. He was really upset with me because I disobeyed what he wanted me to do.
The Senate inquiry also highlighted how the league seemed to give unfair privileges to Filipino foreigners over homegrown talents. Filipino foreigners received bigger perks and preferences due to their supposedly more superior physiques and abilities. Indeed, there were Fil-Shams in the league, but purging the misfits and cheats also hurt the legitimate Filipino foreigners who were just trying to play for a living.
But I was also very offended by the Americans that were pretending to be something that they were not. Because now, heat is coming down on me and other legit Filipino Americans that are here that have followed the rules.
The Fil-Sham's purge led to either deportation or suspension of some major names, like Asi Taulava, Devon Harp, Andy Siegel, John Ordonio, Rudy Hatfield, Dorian Peña, and Mick Penisi. The Bureau of Immigration also asked the Fil-Shams to voluntarily leave the country if they wish to avoid the embarrassment of being jailed. Taulava, though deported in the year 2000, was able to return to the PBA after providing documents proving his Filipino citizenship.
It was just like a controversy lang. Kasi nga most of them, if you notice, karamihan ng mga na involved dyan, they're too tall eh. Diba? They're the big, yung parang some of them don't really look like they're Filipinos. So, syempre, na-intriga lang yon. But those, as I said, those that are still here are basically the ones that were able to prove, that they do have the proper papers to play.
But the Fil-Sham fiasco triggered a massive backlash to the PBA's popularity, almost shaking the league to its core. It took a while for the PBA to regain their audience's trust. But looking back, who really was to blame for the Fil-Sham fiasco? Was it the league itself, which scrambled with the emergence of a strong rival league? The agents, who may have helped falsify documents to make a quick buck? Or the Fil-Shams, buoyed by their desire for instant stardom?
With a handful of Fil-Ams that were able to make it a career out here, there were twice as many that failed when they came out here. And I'll tell you why, because they didn't think the competition was good enough.
I think it's more of the fault of the agents. And the story at the time was there was a particular agent trying to bring in a lot of these Fil-Americans supposedly and passing them off from a certain region in the Visayas. Almost all of them came from that area. So that yung mga katulad na iba na legitimate like Eric Menk and Danny Siegel and his brother Andy Siegel were affected na baka hindi ka totoo. When definitely they had parentage of Filipino descent as well as Filipino blood.
The PBA doesn't only have Filipino-American players. In fact, The league has a head coach who is half European. He is Carlos Caloy Garcia of the Rain or Shine Elasto Painters. The veteran mentor was born to a Filipino mother and Spanish father. Filipino-Spanish football players Angel and Juani Guirado, who have played for the Philippine Ascals, are his first cousins. Actress Colleen Garcia is Coach Caloy's niece. The Great Fil-Sham controversy was certainly a test of character and credibility for every Filipino foreign player. But that hardly diminished their stock, let alone their staying power. And for many of them, it's not about fortune nor fame. They just happen to fall in love with the game. With the Fil-Sham controversy behind them, homegrown talents and Filipino foreigners finally found harmonious coexistence in the PBA. The PBA then beefed up its policies and required Filipino foreigners to go through the draft and prove their citizenship. Stricter measures were also imposed to talent agents scouting for potential Filipino foreigners abroad before bringing them to the PBA.
I base it on the requirements of the PBA, and also the one that would actually give energy to the games. Like for me, not every import that you bring in the Philippines will be effective. So I have to really see who would be able to adapt to the physicality of it, who would actually be able to adapt to our culture.
But a lot of Filipino foreigners still found success and worthy competition from homegrown talents in the PBA. Some of them reached superstar status and even took MVP honors, like Asitao Lava in 2003, Eric Menk from 2004 to 2005, and Kelly Williams in 2008.
I think Fil-Foreigners are forced to learn to be mentally tough, whether it's on the court or off the court. Before coming here, I was big on on defense and rebounding, and one of my coaches said, if you want to extend your career, you're going to have to extend your game, and just that, keeping that in mind, it was a game changer for me.
Pureblood Filipinos who grew up abroad also made their mark in the league with their unique style of basketball. Just like Ginebra's fast and furious tandem of Mark Caguioa and JJ Halterbrand. Caguioa, who was raised in Los Angeles, California, was a relative unknown when he entered the PBA in 2001. The Spark, at one point, became Ginebra's franchise player, winning the MVP and Best Player of the Conference Awards in 2011 and 2012. His backcourt partner, Halterbrand, who played college ball for Kentucky State University, also became popular with fans thanks to his crossovers, strong drives, and his penchant for making clutch plays.
I would think guys like Halterbrand or even Caguioa, they were fantastic when they came here, but they grew up in Carson City in California. At the very core of it is that the local players really have talent. But those are full-blooded Filipinos, people that I mentioned. They are pure, including Caguioa. He even speaks Tagalog better than many Filipinos.
Alex Cabagnot for three. That's good.
The San Miguel Beerman's Alex Cabagnot, also a pure-blooded Pinoy, first drew raves in the United States, playing for Eagle Rock High School before joining the professional league in the Philippines. Crunch Time Cabagnot even had a rivalry of sorts with Mark Caguioa for their alma mater's scoring record. Even today, Alex is a force to reckon with, earning the PBA All-Star MVP plum in 2016 and the 2017 Commissioner's Cup Finals MVP award.
I think I just got to learn how to love the game when I was playing in Los Angeles, Eagle Rock especially. Pero, if you don't evolve with the times, then you get stagnant. I think it's a misconception that when you're coming from the States or you're a foreigner, you have an edge. I think the environment here, this is the environment you're playing in. You're not playing in the States. So merong shock value then for foreigners talaga.
Under present rules, PBA teams can only hire a maximum of 5 Filipino foreign players. Some critics argued that such a ruling is discriminatory. Basketball agent Matthew Monotok, son of former Grand Slam head coach Tommy Monotok, said the cap should be adjusted to 6 players. Monotok claimed that the ruling not only hurts the future of Filipino foreigners, but the league itself, by limiting the best players from entering the league. Former PBA board chairman Buddy Encarnado noted that some teams prioritize Fil-Foreigners over local talents, because of their desire to quickly turn their fortunes as championship-caliber squads. But is this ruling really discouraging and discriminatory?
I don't see it being discriminatory because even in other countries, they limit actually even yung sa import. They want to also focus into, building up yung local talents natin. Kasi we also need that because we joined the national team. We have a lot of talents around, around the Philippines.
Looking at the current landscape of the PBA, there hasn't been a Filipino foreigner who single-handedly dominated the league or win the MVP award since Cali Williams in 2008.
Extra pass, nice look inside Fajardo.
From 2009 to present, the award has been given to pure Filipino athletes, with San Miguel Beerman's Junmar Fajardo bagging the top individual honor from 2013 to 2017. Such feat is a testament to how local players have evolved and kept up, even to those who have basketball experience abroad. Clearly, the homegrown talents are not inferior to Filipino foreigners, even imports.
But if you saw Junmar from the very start, you already knew he had the talent. If you talk about that, even during the early time, Danny Delfonso dominated, di ba? And then remember, Patrimonio was a 4-time MVP in the early 90s, no? And just fantastic type of players. I think we continue to have good local players. Yung baga mga Fil-Am na dadagdag, parang complementary.
Basketball is an ever-evolving sport. It doesn't matter whether one has been playing locally or abroad. What matters most is the learning and loving the Filipino passion for the game.
I feel like as long as you have Filipino blood, you're Filipino, and you fight hard, and that's what you see every day. All the ones I know, they play really hard, just like the Filipinos, and that's kind of how we play.
The advantage comes with the individual, local or foreigner or Fil-Foreigner. The advantage comes with the effort you put in, and it's a beautiful game, it's a beautiful sport, and you learn a lot about yourself, and you learn a lot about life.
No doubt, Philippine basketball has a lot of cultural layers. And one is this curious case of Filipino foreign players. But their story is not all about digging dirt or controversy. Birth certificates aside, it's all about embracing Filipino basketball identity, regardless of race or nationality. I am Lourdes Vera. Thanks for joining me here on Basketball Almanac.